In progress. All right, official welcome, everybody. It's good to have you here. Let's share some information and get going. Week 6. We are almost halfway through, if my calculations are correct. I'm not a math guy, so but from what I can tell, we're almost there. Happy Valentine's Day. It is Thursday the 14th, so thank you for spending your Valentine's with us. We feel your love and appreciate that. Hopefully you have some fun things planned this evening with your families or your significant others. Before we get too far into everything, just reality check from last week, how your assignments went, your discussions, any heartache or concerns or questions that we can help you with, or feedback from anybody. If things do come up, jump in the discussions or unmute your mic and let us know. We want to keep the process moving and not keep people up at night worrying about this class and stressed out about things. You want things to be as smooth as possible for you. So if you have questions, please let us know. To get going, there is a quote starting out the chapter that you'll be reading this week. Is how can you use technology to help students practice and deepen their understanding of new knowledge? So that's kind of the question to keep in mind as you go throughout this week in the assignments and with the discussion, and pretty much this question should be used in all that we're doing, especially in this day of age where technology is where it is and how far it is coming and where it's going to go, how we can really implement technology with things. Your reading for this week, Chapter 5, about the deepening knowledge. There are some great supplemental readings for you this week. Again, these aren't mandatory. We do recommend them, especially the HyperDoc Handbook. You will be creating a HyperDoc this week for your assignment. It's a great little resource there, the HyperDoc Handbook. The SAMR model, how will you know if technology is making a difference? If not familiar with the SAMR model, take a look at that and kind of see what that is, and it's an acronym that you may hear more and more as integrating technology into your teaching and into your classrooms. And then a student perspective of personalized learning. So that's a really good link to kind of get a student perspective of what it looks like for personalized learning. So some good readings this week. Encourage you to look at all of those. Like I mentioned, your assignment is creating a HyperDoc. And if you haven't ever created a HyperDoc, you're in for a treat. HyperDocs are pretty cool documents. Basically what they are is it could be a document, it could be a slide deck, it could be anything that it's living and live. There's links on there. It takes you to quizzes, to videos, to other readings, to web pages, to Twitter feeds. It's just all encompassed in one page, and you just link out to different things. So you're going to create a HyperDoc for your assignment, and you need to reflect on it. So if with your students, the process of your students going through it, and if you don't have students and you want a colleague to look at your HyperDoc, the feedback given by your colleague. There are some examples of HyperDocs within the course. There's a great link there. The HyperDoc is hyperlinked. Take out to a resource. And then underneath there's the Chocolate Touch. That is a HyperDoc on Google Slides from the book The Chocolate Touch. You can look into that. And then there is a folder which I found one time of templates and lessons already created for basically all subject areas. So for those who are here tonight, or those who watch this recording, that folder full of HyperDocs and templates may be a great resource for you to go to get started in creating a HyperDoc for a specific subject that you're teaching. To help you in this, some online tools. Tony had this integrating educational technology into teaching PowerPoint, which he put together, or which he found. It's by Rob Robler, and this is the Chapter 6 on using the online tools and web-based development. I'm not going to take the time to go over this. This is for you to go through if you would like, and all sorts of stuff when getting out online stuff, especially with HyperDocs, creating HyperDocs, or students creating HyperDocs for an assignment, things to be careful of and be aware of when they're out there online. These next couple slides, I'll go a little bit into that PowerPoint, some of the highlights with that. Your discussion for this week is the usefulness of preferred learning styles. Carol and I had the opportunity yesterday to discuss if this is a myth or a fact, these learning styles, if it's a real thing. But that's not part of this assignment right now, but it's usefulness of learning styles, including online learning. That is a learning style, I say that. So looking at the online learning and the other learning styles, the usefulness of it. And you can see the exact question, what you're supposed to be answering there in the discussion post. There is a link here to the 8 types of learning styles. Takes you out to this page right here. Look at the different type of learning styles that this article talks about. So there's some resources there you can help that could help you. Looking on the social networking collaboration, reaching out to other people, get their insights and feedback with that, and then your online environment as well. If you're a Twitter user, you can tweet out these questions or different things to get feedback from others as you're looking at answering these questions, or this question for this discussion this week. Just quickly here, some of these next slides going into this PowerPoint by Robler with the online, we're working online, social networking and collaboration. There's a great UEN course, if you haven't taken it yet, of establishing or creating your PLN, your personal learning network. It's a fabulous course to get these networks going in an online community. Interaction strategies, so looking at these ways to help within your classroom students to accomplish and do things. There's a lot of safety and security issues, especially with the PPI, the personal private information, and for students. And but this is a big thing right now, the safety and security online, especially with the legislation is passing a bill now mandating districts to get policies in place and having schools provide parent nights and different things. So it is a big issue. The ethical and legal with the copy and pasting, the plagiarism, the piracy. Especially when you're looking at the images. That's one a lot of students, they just grab the front image online, they just copy and paste it, or they drag and drop it, and not looking at the rights that are with that image. So there's some things to keep in mind as you are preparing your HyperDoc lesson, or your students will be preparing one also. And then digital citizenship. Digital citizenship, called many different names out there, but there's some things to help us be good digital citizens. Keeping in mind what's coming up, Carol created this fabulous document. If you haven't looked at this yet, I encourage you to do so, as it outlines everything week by week, what needs to be done and what you should have done already. If you haven't had your conference yet, whatever that may be for your instructor, needs to be done by week 8 at the latest, because you need to implement your project for 4 weeks after your conference. So if you haven't done your conference or reached out to your instructor about your plan for your project, please do so as soon as possible, because the weeks are winding down. Again, 4 weeks to implement your project, and then your portfolios, where you are dumping all your assignments and your reflections and everything from this class in your portfolio. There's some other things with your portfolio that we've told you about, and that you will read about on the the portfolio assignment page. You will be reviewing your peers' portfolios, a peer portfolio also, and giving feedback, and that is your week 8 assignment. So that will be coming up. Just keep that in mind. Any questions up to now for this week's assignment, or anything that is coming up, or anything that has happened already? Well, awesome. We're going to jump into the elements. Grant and Thane, element 17.
Yeah, that's me. You hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right. See if I can share my screen here. Hey, you seeing this?
Yep, looks great.
Okay, so our item was about helping students examine similarities and differences. And as I put here, at its base level, students categorize things based on the classifications that a teacher gives. The teachers are showing them how to classify things, and they're not putting a whole lot of their own thought into it other than putting things into certain categories. But as students advance, they create their own categories and use deeper thinking. And we chose to put this presentation on a Venn diagram because a Venn diagram is an example of how students can categorize and differentiate between things. We've got a few different sources here. We won't have time for all of them, but we found this video on YouTube that outlines 4 different strategies for identifying similarities and differences. I'll just play this for a minute. Probably won't watch the whole thing, of course. So I think that was a good point right here, that by identifying similarities and differences between things, it helps us make sense of the world around us. Being able to compare and contrast between different texts, being able to compare between different people, things that we're learning about, helps us make sense of the world. So there's part of that video. And we found this little graphic showing some different ways that we can help students to compare things. Venn diagrams is one, and visual analogies, letting them see a visual of 2 different things and how they compare. Sentence stem analogies, sentence stem comparisons, and a comparison matrix. Those are all different ways to help students with this. Over here, we found the rating scale of how a teacher can rate themselves, how they're doing with this. So I'll just look at this over here a little bit. Someone who is applying this skill is someone who engages students in activities that require them to examine similarities and differences related to content and monitors for evidence of the extent to which it deepens understanding for the majority of students. And then to be innovating, to be a master teacher, you need to be doing this to see the effect in all students. So basically it's just helping students see similarities and differences and monitoring, making sure that they really understand what they're doing, that they really understand differences. Then we found another video here of a teacher actually implementing some strategies. We'll watch this just for a minute.
And our learning goal for our books, and we talked about this yesterday, is I can tell the similarities and differences between 2 texts about the same idea. Who remembers what another word for text is? Brian. Books. Awesome. And Brian, if we want to be a 4, we want
Sorry, you can't really hear him very well, but I like how this teacher outlines well what she wants her students to do, and she shows them exactly what it means to compare different texts. So anyway, those were some of our ideas. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate that. So I'm 18, Courtney. She has a video she sent in.
Hi, my name is Courtney Geisler, and I am presenting on element 18, which is helping students examine errors in reasoning. Try to get this up. Okay. So part of this is that it's important for students to identify errors in reasoning, and so it might include things like faulty logic, attacks, weak references, and misinformation. The article stated that it should be taught explicitly. We need to help our students analyze misconceptions, and we can use technology to sort out the information. I included the chart that was in the article, and it categorized the errors of reasoning into those 4 areas, and then it shows how the error can occur. I teach 5th and 6th grade, so I probably wouldn't get into how the error can occur with my 5th graders. With my 6th graders, they're going to be writing an argument essay, and so there are some of those things that I can pull out for them to help them identify misconceptions in language arts and things like that. Some of the technology examples for teachers are to provide examples through hyperlinks, using mobile devices with polling software, posting links to textual audio or video resources, use polling data to augment class discussions, and show clips of audiovisual media and ask students to identify errors. On the student side, it's almost endless the way that you can use technology to sort these things. That some of their examples are using social bookmarking tools like Vigo or Delicious to catalog, and then you can also annotate on there. Allowing them to search the internet for different genres of journalism and finding misconceptions where they can find them. Cataloging errors they can find using recording software like Audacity, post recordings to Dropbox, and recording videos. In my class, as in an elementary school, some things that we've done to identify misconceptions are we've created podcasts of misconceptions that students see in math. And really most of the work that I've done with misconceptions has been in the area of math. I haven't really worked with it too much in language arts or English. We've also used OneNote to collaborate on documents to identify misconceptions within their peer study groups. We use Teams to post hyperlinks to media that shows misconceptions, and then we also use forms to poll students. We're a Microsoft school, so that's why most of these things are Microsoft tools. So I teach, like I said, I teach 5th and 6th grade, and mostly use it in the subject of math. We find problems that the students miss, and we find how it was done incorrectly and why it might have been solved that way. And sometimes I'll give the misconception and ask them to analyze it. The other thing we use is educreations. So the students get on there and they can write the math problem out and identify the misconception, and they have to be able to explain it. So it's a recording tool as well. And we post it on Teams, and then the different peer study groups can discuss it and analyze each other's education. And that's all that I have. Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks, Courtney. Just one thing to bring out: the social bookmarking site Delicious is no longer around. That was taken away, I believe, in 2017. So like technology, the textbook is outdated also. Once it hits print, things change so much with technology. And you may find other resources within the text or online that things are referenced to that are no longer out there. So just keep that in mind, that things do change a lot with technology. So element 19, Susan and Pam, they sent a video as well.
After students have been instructed, they need opportunities to practice procedural knowledge, skills, strategies, and processes. The first step is to use close monitoring. This should occur directly after the teacher presents new content to the class. This is the time for teachers to closely observe student work for mistakes before they become ingrained. Teachers should use a variety of methods to let students practice. Programs such as Nearpod offer a way for students to respond and practice using audio, visual, and written responses. The second step is frequent, structured practice. It's important to use problem-solving steps and incorporate those into the presentation software. Programs like Audacity enable the teacher to give clues and can be accessed while the students practice. Number 3 is varied practice. You should use less structured and more complex tasks. Programs such as Jing, Educreations, TouchCast, and others allow you to record steps in a procedure to assist student success. Finally, step 4 is fluency practice. This practice should only begin once students have experienced success in a variety of simple to complex tasks. The purpose of fluency practice is to help students perform the skill quickly, automatically, and accurately. There are a variety of apps and websites that give lots of fluency practice. One is Symbaloo that allows you to create custom learning paths for the students, and Vet Simulations have a variety of games and labs where they can practice their skills. Students should be encouraged to track their own data so that they can self-monitor their own progress. It's also important to remember to celebrate successes.
That was great. Great use of Adobe Spark too. Element 20, Brittany and Nia.
Hi, I'm Brittany Clausen.
And I'm Nia Anderson.
And we're going over Element 20, helping students revise knowledge.
So in Element 20, it pertains to the revision of knowledge, which involves asking students to revise entries in their notebooks to clarify and add to previous information. Students should periodically assess their own performance by looking at their own strengths, weaknesses, and areas of improvement in their academic notebooks. Academic notebooks are a powerful tool for students to develop self-evaluation skills.
Academic notebook entries are entries that are completed by the student in their notebook that they can examine later in the lesson or during other units. An example would be to use an online word processing tool like Google Drive or OneNote to create learning journals where they can extend and revise their knowledge. Using technology for the notebook allows them to access their entries from a variety of devices. You can also include textual, visual, and audio files. Academic notebook review is where students use the key vocabulary, main ideas, steps and procedures, and concepts that they have recorded in their academic notebooks to prepare for tests and quizzes. An example would be to use their online notebook entries to support reflection and knowledge revision, as well as help them review for assessment. This helps because they can access it on a variety of devices, and it helps students and parents to be able to track their academic growth throughout a unit of study.
Peer feedback. Students swap academic notebooks and write responses to their classmates' entries, and teachers can create a list of questions to guide students in the process of giving feedback. Students can give feedback to each other and create and save multiple drafts of their work is one example that we have of this. It's able to enhance whole class sharing, evaluating, and contributing to one another's content knowledge. Assignment revision. Teachers provide constructive feedback on student assignments, but they do not record the student's grade on the assignment. Students have the option to use teachers' comments to revise the assignment and turn it in again for a chance at a higher score. One example of this is teachers can use the editing features of word processing software to enhance the process of student revision. They're able to enhance this process of student revision because they can use comments features, offer suggestions, as well as embed revisions in student assignments so that students can then get feedback a lot quicker than they would with a paper that they just turned into their teacher that they're waiting to get back. So this is what we have about element 20.
All right, those are all great presentations today. So thanks everybody for participating and doing your part on those elements. Next week, elements 21, 22, and 23, and 24. You can see who's on the list right there. Reach out to one another and coordinate and collaborate, and we're expecting great things next week, like we have seen already for the last 5 weeks, I guess. So that's great. Just before we end tonight, some links that you may never use, but maybe you should. If the USET has a newsletter that they give out monthly, they send out to you, it is filled with a ton of technology tools and resources. There's a link there for the February newsletter just came out. A lot of information on there, tips and different things. If you want to subscribe to the newsletter, there's a link there to go to the subscription. Carol did mention volunteering at the USET conference last week. I believe that link has closed, but if you're dying to volunteer and you like to volunteer, let us know and we will let Clint know, and he'll be more than happy to have you volunteer at USET. But attend the conference. If you can't go both days, attend one day. It is a great conference to attend. A lot of great ideas come out of that conference. On the bottom there, the ERSA conference in July. Think of presenting at that. We like to have classroom teachers who are utilizing the stuff in the classroom be the presenters, instead of people who aren't in the classroom presenting on tools, how to make them work in the classroom. So if there's a tool or a theory or something that's working, not necessarily in technology, but in any aspect, it's not a technology conference, it's an education conference, consider presenting at the ERSA conference. We will review proposals mid-March, so you still have a few weeks left to think about it, but we'll love to have you a part of that conference in July. Any questions? That's all we have for tonight. Is there any concerns or questions from anybody? I'll stop sharing my screen and look at any of the chat things here. And never saw Carol wave her hand or anything, so probably nothing going on in the chat tonight. But again, we thank you for being here. It's nice having the live participants joining in with us. If there's nothing else from anybody, have a fabulous Valentine's Day and try to stay dry. It's not about where you are, but it's wet here where we are. So and have a great evening. Thanks for being here, everybody.